Chocolate cow when I'm smoking. You be talking price, yeah. Talking oceans. Chocolate van for the potion. Big rolls, I be in the game and I'm coaching. Chocolate cow when I'm smoking. You be talking price, yeah. Talking oceans. Chocolate van for the potion. Big rolls, I be in the game and I'm coaching. Ooh. I could put you on the game, son, run the track, but need the bands on the fame, yeah, cross me, you forever be a lame one, watch your back, yeah, that dirt nap, you could take one, hey, you got shooters, I got shooters too, cup red, but my money blue, playing with the good drop, like I got the flu, I had Ag in 2012, yeah, this shit ain't new.
You already know what the fuck it is, and if you don't, now you do. It's Hip Hop Made Me Do It, the first ever solo podcast, episode number 8 we're on at this point. I'm going to turn the tunes all the way down. I think you can still hear it there. That one was Tropicana. Thanks to Vinny Fano for starting off the show right. Brand new track by him, produced by Tony Seltzer. I know he's got a new project dropping soon. Really excited for that to come out. Until then, you already know you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook at Hip Hop Made Me Do _ on Instagram and Twitter, and Facebook is just Hip Hop Made Me Do It. You can also check out the podcast, as always, on SoundCloud and YouTube. Also, just search Hip Hop Made Me Do It. It should come up. We're working to get on all streaming platforms soon, but until then, that is the place to find us. If you want to support the show, we don't have any sponsors yet, but if you want to support the show, we still have some Hip Hop Made Me Do It tees left. Those nice pink. And of course, we got the white ones as well. And they're going pretty fast. We have, let me just review the sheet just to make sure. Yeah, we have a couple pinks in medium. We have a couple medium and larges in pink, and we have whites in small, medium, and XL. But those smalls and XLs are running out. So if you think you want one, hit us up. For now, you can just purchase a tee by DMing us on Instagram or Twitter. Once again, that's at Hip Hop Made Me Do. And we're doing free shipping, $20 a shirt. You can also support us on Patreon if you wish. Once again, that's Hip Hop Made Me Do It on Patreon. We do not have any reward systems yet. I really need to build that out, so Patreon is worth it. But if for some reason you want to throw us $1 a month just because you enjoy the show, you enjoy what we do at Hip Hop Made Me Do It, definitely do that. This is the first ever solo Hip Hop Made Me Do It podcast. I've been putting off doing this for a while. Reason being was, it feels weird to talk to yourself for an hour. I remember doing my radio show, and at first I didn't want to talk at all. I just wanted to play tunes because you feel like you're talking to yourself and you're not sure if anyone's listening. At least with the radio show, once I started putting out the phone number, you would get calls in and requests, and you knew people were actually listening. But this, especially since it's not live, I'm just putting it out there, and hopefully you guys see it and enjoy it. So I was really putting off doing this, but Charlemagne has a quote about, if your show relies on guests, if you don't have a show without guests, then you don't really have a show. And my goal was always to build a show that didn't rely on guests. And I've done a bunch of the interviews, but I want to have a more podcast, a regular podcast going every week. And for a while I was trying to find like a permanent co-host. I was thinking my homie Chance, who's been on a previous podcast, would be a good co-host. But I've just been moving around lately. I know we were both living in Western Mass at one point, and that seemed like it would make sense. Now he's out in Gardner and I'm out in Providence. So just coordinating, it's not likely we would be able to do a weekly podcast and get each other in the same room every week. So for now, this is what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to do some solo podcasts when I can't have a guest on. Hopefully there'll be a time where I can find a, more permanent co-host and can bounce off of each other. But we're rocking with this for now. And also, I don't want to just bring on any person, just be like, oh, you're into hip hop, be my co-host. Because it's like, if I want someone to be my like permanent co-host, I could try out different people and, see who I mix with. But, you really have to have a chemistry. So for now, we're going to do this. I spent actually a while yesterday trying to get a live podcast going. I had a couple technical difficulties, one being two main issues. I've noticed the audio, there's like a light buzz, and if we're going to do a live podcast, I can take it out and post, pretty easily. But if we're going to do a live podcast, I want to have better audio. So I want to figure out why that's happening. But I also need a capture card in order to do a live podcast. But I have this really cool program once I buy a capture card, where we'll be able to do a live podcast where not only could I, have myself speaking on camera, but I can bring in other videos and, some animations, and it'll be really nice and awesome. And that way, when we do a live podcast, I'm thinking about doing it on Twitch and then bringing it onto YouTube, the edited version after the fact. A combination of kind of what I was doing with my radio show. But in this case, it'll be like an hour of speaking and maybe, an hour of music. So in between breaks, a total of a 2-hour show live and then cut up for YouTube, taking out the music so we don't get copyright striked. But that way it'll also be more interactive, and even when it's a solo podcast, I'll have, ways that the audience can participate live if they choose to tune in, or, you can just catch the recording afterward on YouTube. So that way, like I said, make it more interactive. So even when I don't have a co-host or I don't have a guest for an interview or a podcast, you guys will still be able to interact with me, and we can still make it something enjoyable and something where it doesn't feel like I'm talking to myself for an hour. And before we get on to the other subjects, I want to just mention two major show announcements. So this is actually technically two different shows, both happening August 4th. So the first is the Foundation Festival, which is going to start at 2 p.m. and go throughout the day. Outdoor Western Mass Hip Hop Festival with 25 plus artists already confirmed. Nikolai Vocals, Machakos Chalo, Donnie and Kamar, Disorderly Conduct, Lulu the Prince, Dro Brown, Wiki Good, Bow Shots, just to name a few. You can see the whole list on the Facebook event. And it's actually going to be, tickets are $15 pre-sale and $18 at the door. So this is going to be outside, right outside Hawks and Reed, I believe. Then later that night, after this long festival, Cameron will actually be playing Hawks and Reed. So two shows, and, the Foundation Festival will kind of lead into the Cameron show, which is super exciting to have Cameron come to Western Massachusetts. Ben continually put it on for hip hop in the area and bringing out some bigger acts. So those tickets are going to be $30 early bird if you get them before this Thursday, the 12th. After that, they're going to be $35 advance and $40 at the door. Now you can buy tickets to both those events if you go to our Facebook page, Hip Hop Made Me Do It. I posted both the or shared both the Facebook events. If you want to check them out, the ticket file link is in those Facebook events. Or if you go to our Twitter at Hip Hop Made Me Do _, I also tweeted out a tweet with both of those links to purchase tickets. Once again, the Foundation Festival has like 25 local Western Mass artists performing. Starts at 2 and I think goes till 10 p.m. Those tickets are $15 pre-sale, $18 at the door. And then we got Cameron, like I said, early bird before Thursday is $30, $35 advance, and $40 at the door. Both those shows are going down August 4th. So, like I said, check us out. Check out the Facebook events or check out our tweet and go cop some tickets while you still can, because those are going to be two great events. And you'll catch me at least part of the Foundation Festival, and you'll definitely catch me at the Cameron show. Without further ado, I want to dive into some of the topics that I thought would be good to talk about. The first thing is some more housekeeping, hip hop and do it related things. The Dami Divine interview. Quick updates on that. So I know, I put out that tweet, funny little preview. A lot of people seem like they're actually really anticipating this interview, which I'm always surprised by, because I forget that people are actually watching my stuff. You see the numbers, but you forget that those are actually real people. So just giving you guys some quick updates. Basically, we did the interview. We used Dami's camera, or Dami's iPhone, as the second camera, and we were having some troubles getting the video file to me, because we actually talked for an hour and a half, so it's an hour and a half video file. Ooh, is my phone going off? Oh, yeah, that's my friend. Don't worry about that right now. So it's like an hour and a half video file. We actually spent 2 hours meeting up at Starbucks trying to get it every which way via physical cord and via transfer online. And I don't have the file yet. I think I know how we can make it happen. But the other thing is, Dami is, a tough person to coordinate to begin with, because he's a busy guy dealing with a lot of rappers, doing a lot of big things. And I was hoping when we met up at Starbucks we could make it happen. But I think we are going to get that soon. So hold tight. And I think we figured out a way to get that file to me. And we're going to put it out, because I want to make sure that when it does come out, it comes out the right way. And, it'd be better to have both camera angles and really make it as great as possible. So expect that very soon. And, if you really want to see this Dami Divine interview, tweet at him, hit him up at Dami Divine. Let him know you want to see this interview. Let him know what's up. Let's light a little bit of a fire under his ass. Not that he's doing anything wrong, but like I said, if you bug him enough, maybe we'll be able to better coordinate. And yeah, love you, Dami. Okay, now we're getting to the nitty gritty, the main topics of this podcast. All right, there's two main things I wanted to talk about. One is XXL. At this point, we all know about the freshman list. I want to talk about the freestyle specifically. My plan was to look at all the freestyles and kind of rank them and, give you my thoughts. But, I was sitting there watching the freestyles, and there were so many of them that felt lackluster. They didn't really stand out. I didn't have anything much to say about them. Just first talking about, the relevancy. Well, going back to, the relevancy of XXL, this is the last bit of relevancy they have, is the freshman list. And it just shows how, everything about this shows that how out of touch they are. The whole cover, we got clout. It's just this cringy corporate. It's like the corporation's trying to relate to the youth, but they really don't know what they're talking about. And, it just comes off way corny. There's no, also, I feel like all credibility have the fact that there's no way Tekashi doesn't belong on that list. The numbers he's doing are ridiculous. I don't care that he might be messing up some of his money in whatever. I think that's the reason they gave, that he was losing shows and all this because of controversy. But let's be realistic. The numbers he's putting up, there's no reason he doesn't belong on there. And it's not only do the fans not really care about the list and don't really think it matters that much, but you have the artists that don't even really care. They were missing a 10th spot because Lil Skies didn't show up, and it's when the artists that you're picking as the hot artists don't even care to show up. It's not only do the fans not really care, the artists don't really care, and then Rich the Kid was supposed to take his spot, but then he found out he was a replacement, so he didn't want to do it. There's actually a really funny video of the lady doing the interview and saying he only wanted to do it if Jay Kitch could also do it, which was actually super fire of him. Or if they they put him on a throne and sat all the freshmen around him. So it's kind of a total ultimate flex, which at first, when I heard the story, it's an ultimate flex, but he seems like he's being picky. But then I guess it was because he found out that he was a replacement, which, if you think undoubtedly, I feel like he deserves to be a freshman, and it's like if you thought you were a freshman and they're just like, oh, you're just trying to replace me or put me in as a replacement, I could see why you'd feel some type of way about that. So you have the artists that don't even care. Like, you have Lil Pump going in there. I know, like, on No Jumper, Adam said that he talked to him and said he was literally just trolled the freestyle, which, like, he basically did. He just did, rap to skid it really lazily, didn't really care. And it's like I said, I was going to rank them, but I feel like the concept of an acapella freestyle, if you think about what an acapella freestyle is supposed to do, for it to sound really good or for it to be impactful, you need to have artists that are either have crazy wordplay and are hitting you with, like I said, a lot, crazy wordplay, or they have something really meaningful to say, and that's really going to impact, that's really going to leave you like, damn, you know what I'm saying? And if you look at the freshman list of the past 2 years or so, you don't have a lot of artists that are like that. You don't have a lot of, and I don't mean this even as a diss, you don't have a lot of super lyrical artists. You have artists that are known for, getting hype, and what they're known for is their ability to ride a beat and bring energy. Lil Pump is not known for his lyricism. So you either have one of two things. You're going to have ciphers, or not ciphers. I mess up the ciphers in the freestyle. The cipher preview that came out, seemed like they had a lot of energy. We'll see how those actually go. I know that they dropped the JID and I don't even know how to pronounce it, but JID and Ski Mask cipher, and they both bring the energy on the beat. And JID, I would say he had the best freestyle by far. I think he's the most lyrical of the crew. But when you have artists that are not super lyrical or super content driven, you have one of two things. You have either they're awkward as hell, like Blockboy JB. He's actually freestyling, which I can give him props for that. But it was just the most awkward thing watching him rock back and forth. And or you have people that are, artists that are all right, well, if I do a freestyle, it's going to be embarrassing or awkward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a written verse for something you've already heard. So, and I respect artists that realize I'm not great at freestyling, so I might as well do this. But at the same time, it's all right, well, we've already heard it. So it's kind of, they're just doing it to do it. And then there are, like I said, a very few genuinely great freestyles. JID was a really good freestyle. Let me see. I have my notes here. I don't know if any of the other ones really stood out to me. I mean, like I said, Trippy's sounded pretty good, but it was, like I said, that's something that was written. Ski Mask was all right. But like I said, a lot of cool cartoony references. But the thing about Ski Mask is like I said, and he's got the fast flows, which are pretty interesting to hear. But it's his ability to ride a beat and switch up his flow is the thing that's most intriguing about him, I feel like. So without the beat, unless he's doing some wild stuff, it was all right, but it was nothing that really stood out. Stefflon Don's was pretty good. Let me just see. Wi-Fi Funeral was good, like I said, but that's an older song. So it's at this point, it's why are they even doing the acapella freestyles? I like keeping the cipher because it's that's, like I said, more about getting the group together and having them just ride a beat and have a good time. And it is weird that they started making it, they always had small groups for the ciphers, but now, like I said, they released the JID and Ski Mask one. It's weird that they're just doing I don't know if they're going to do couples for the whole thing. I feel like they should do groups more. I felt like that was definitely I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how the ciphers come out. Can't really say until they come out. I'm curious. I'm gonna pull up the freshman list because I feel like they're also very hit or miss with actually predicting who's gonna be next up. So I'm gonna pull up. Let's see if the Wikipedia page has the freshman lists. Okay, freshman list. All right, this year Ski Mask, Ski Mask, Lil Pump, Smoke Perp, YB. Oh yeah, Namir. YBN Namir's was actually pretty good too. And I think that was. It might have been written, but it was new. Okay, so looking at last year, we have Kamaya, who she really hasn't made much noise since then. She really hasn't stood out from the pack. Cap G, which I don't know, I really haven't heard much about Cap G. Ugly God, it's kind of fallen off. Made in Tokyo is still going strong. Let's see, X, obviously, rest in peace. He was on the rise and would have been. He was already one of the biggest. I don't know if he's one of the biggest artists, but one of the biggest up and coming artists. Kyle, still a big artist. And I feel like a lot of times the criteria is not always clear. The Amine, sometimes they have one hit record that goes crazy, but it's that doesn't predict if they're going to be a star going forward. 2016, I feel like that was a pretty strong class. Uzi, Yachty, Kodak Black, Denzel Curry, Dave East, Lil Dicky, Anderson .Paak, 21 Savage, Designer. I mean, that was a pretty strong class. But if you're going back 2015, let's say, Fetty Wap. That was his Fetty Wap's year. But after that, we didn't hear much from him. He did drop that song with Tekashi. I don't really know if it did numbers or not. But, Kid, I don't know who Kid is. He's 2015. OG Mako had that one song and popped off. Shy Glizzy. I don't even remember. K-Camp, I remember he had that song with 2 Chainz. Vince Staples obviously took off. Tink, Gold Link popped off. Dej Loaf, she's doing her thing. But it's I feel like most freshman classes are really just half of them are going to show out and the other half are going to be duds. But yeah, like I said, that's the last bit of relevancy that XXL has, and they really like to play that up because it's literally the only thing they have. But it's when the fans don't care and the artists you pick don't care, I feel like they're just lying to themselves because, like I said, it's all the only bit of relevancy they still have. But moving on from that, because I don't really have much more to say about that. Drake's album, Scorpion dropped, did record numbers, and of course I have my opinions about Drake and about Scorpion. Okay, so Drake drops Scorpion, right? And first of all, can we stop with this trend of double albums? First you had Migos with Culture 2. Then you had Ray Shremmerd with their triple album. And now we have Drake with his double album. And it's so clear that these are just attempts to get that nice streaming check. Get that money. It really creates these over-bloated albums that are just filled with filler. I saw the record. I forget the exact stat, but I know, or no, here, blah, blah, blah. I pulled it up. Okay, so Drake broke the record for 170 million streams on the first day and 1 billion streams in a week. I know there was something about him breaking some record in 3 hours. So, obviously it did what it was supposed to. If you go and, listen all the way through the album, hour and a half album, 25 songs. I think it's hour and a half, just about. That's a good amount of streams, even if you just listen through it once versus, listening to the album 3 times. Not everyone's going to listen to the album 3 times, but a good amount of people are going to listen to it at least once through. And I just feel like when you have these long double albums, it really hurts the art. I can name only a few double albums that are actually aren't filled with filler. I'm just, but I I can think of like Danny Brown old, anything that has an actual concept. And I'm sorry, but like having a rapping song side and a singing song is such a weak concept that it's like, it's barely a concept. Old was pretty cool because it was like Danny Brown. I'm talking about Old by Danny Brown, because it was like, all right, this is the old Danny Brown and this is like the new Danny Brown. Different phases in his career. Some people might say Speaker Box and Love Below, but that didn't even really count as a double album. That was just like Outkast was breaking up, but they, didn't want to admit it to the fans yet, so they put out those 2 separate albums. I think it was really funny, just the fact that he put out a rapping side and a singing song side. It's really, I feel like it takes away what made Drake innovative to begin with. What made Drake innovative was his ability to seamlessly mix rap and hip hop together. Rap and R&B together. And he would, even when he is rapping, he would do this weird sing-songy singing while he's rapping. And I feel like that's what made him so innovative. And I feel like when you separate the two, it's just a way, it's just appeasement. It's Drake letting all the voices get in his head. Anthony Fantano, there was a liner notes. So the liner notes, Anthony Fantano tweeted out the picture, and he had the perfect comment that I think really sums up my thoughts on it. So I'm going to read you first the liner notes that Drake put out. So it says, editor's notes. I hate when Drake raps. Drake sings too much. Drake is a pop artist. Drake doesn't even write his own songs. Drake took an L. Drake didn't start from the bottom. Drake is finished. I like Drake's older stuff. Drake can make music for girls. Drake thinks he's Jamaican. Drake is a actor. Drake changed. Anybody else is greater than Drake. Yeah, we know. Signed, Drake. And Fantano says, in a desperate attempt to make it look like outside criticism doesn't bother him at all, Drake proves he folds like a paper tiger anytime the internet has something mean to say about his music. And, like I said, that sums up all my feelings about how, Drake is almost so self-conscious that, that's just what this shows to me. He's so, it's like, Drake, you don't need to appease everyone. You don't have to make everyone happy. Make the music that you want to make. And that's what this double album shows, is like, oh, if you like me rapping, here's a side for you for rapping. If you just want to hear me sing, here's a side for singing. Versus, if you just cut this album in half, picked out the best songs from each side, you'd have a pretty good album. But instead, you have tons of filler. And to me, the best Drake was Take Care Drake. You have Views from the Six was supposed to be this big release. It's supposed to be, this is the Drake album. This is the premiere album. Like I said, it was an hour and a half long. And it's just kind of a boring album that kind of drags on. And it's like I said, full of filler. You had even More Life. He calls it a playlist. Which is really just a cop-out to put out an incomplete, half-assed album, in my opinion. If you call it a playlist, then you can't, it's hard to criticize because it's a playlist. It's not an album. But let's see. And one thing that I felt was interesting, and they talked about this on the Joe Budden podcast. It felt like a good chunk of this, they were joking that the first half was a response to Pusha T, because a good chunk of this, there was many one-liners throughout the first half of the album that were a direct response to Pusha T dish, or to Pusha T, and some of them were whole songs. Which if Push made Drake rewrite his entire album, or a good chunk of his album, that's definitely a win for Push. Not that he wasn't already winning. But also Drake didn't put out the track list until a couple days before its release. So for all we know, that album was a normal length, and then he decided to add a bunch of songs. But who knows? What's also, I think, is very interesting, there's a lot of talking tough on the first half of this album. And, after what Pusha did to Drake, I don't know why you would be talking tough, especially since you didn't even fully respond. Even his response on this album is kind of weak. Let's see. I don't know if I should go track by track. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. This is such a mess. I'm hot as hell. It's so hot in here. Whew. Take this at least off my one ear. Yeah, I mean, there are some highlights on this album. You know, like obviously you have God's Plan, 8 out of 10, Mob Ties. But even, like I said, Mob Ties is like, Drake, no one, we don't believe you have mob ties. And it's like, I think that when Drake, I put out a tweet today that was like, fronting and acting tough is cornier than just being your corny self. People forget that Drake was like the, sissy rapper, Marvin's Room. Like that was his, and don't get me wrong, like that's the thing, Marvin's Room was great. But at a certain point, I feel like Drake got tired of being shit on so much, and he kind of overcompensated. He went for, I'm a tough guy. And when you're not a tough guy and you act like a tough guy, you're going to get exposed. He keeps bringing back, even the intro, he's talking about how he's bringing up how he defeated Meek Mill. It's like Meek Mill, was not a worthy opponent. He gave you a, half-ass diss, and it's like, Push finally exposed you, and when he actually did, your whole response to this is very defensive. He talks about I wasn't hiding my kid from the world, or I wasn't hiding my kid from the world. I was hiding my. Wait, no. What does he say? He says, I was hiding the world from my kid. That's what he says, which is there was a lot of funny jokes on Twitter about that being a lame excuse. And his response is always I'm too rich to have to deal with this. Or he's like, you're not even worth my time. I don't talk when there's nothing to say, but it's I feel like there's some things that you should have addressed. And I'm really curious. I mean, there is the last song. I think it's March 14th, where it's just he's writing to his kid. And it makes me wonder, though. I think that, he wasn't. I think he was planning on revealing his kid at the end of the album. That was going to be the last song, and, that's a reveal. I don't think that he wasn't going to say anything about it at all. But that obviously threw off his plans, because he actually has to defend it throughout the first half of this album. Like I said, there are some highlights. Let me just pull up the track list just so I can follow along. We got all right, so I feel like the first real highlight is Motionless. The Mariah Carey vocals on that are nice. Of course, you have God's Plan. I'm upset. Shout out to Oogie Man for the production. 8 out of 10 is a good one. He has some line about the only dead beats are beats I'm rapping over, which is kind of corny, but that's like I said. 8 out of 10 Mob Ties. There are a lot of them. Emotionless. I feel like a lot of them just feel like responses to Pusha. Sandra's Rose is a good song about his mom. There's some corny lines in those that still though. Talk Up with Jay-Z is fire. Is There More? It feels like just an attempt to. It's basically is there more to life than money and riches and having everything? And it's obviously the answer is yes, but it also feels like just an attempt to flex. Because if you think about the things that he's saying, I don't have the exact lyrics, but they're all just him bragging about how amazing his life is, or things that other people don't have and want. And he's is there more to life than this? It's yeah, obviously there is. And now you just feel making people feel lame for not having that. I know I'm not being very specific. I'm really tired, and to be honest, I've listened to this album maybe 3 times through. It's tough to listen to it all the way through because by the time you get to the second disc, the lull starts really quickly in the second disc. The first disc is great. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say great. The first disc is much better than the second disc in quotes, but that's not saying much. Let's see. Nice for What, obviously, we're on the second disc at this point. It's pretty good. Single. Like I said, it's getting late. I can't talk. Ratchet Happy Birthday I actually like because it's pretty funny. It's your I can't even roll my tongue, but you know what I'm saying. I can't even remember how. That's the thing. A lot of these blend together because I will say also, Don't Matter to Me. I feel like that Michael Jackson feature was very forced. It was very hype related. Like, apparently that was from a song pre-Thriller that was unearthed, and it feels like there's some effects on his voice or something. It's definitely some altercation. I was going to say altercation. It's definitely altered a bit to the point where I'm like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know if that ever needed to come out, Maybe there's a reason that MJ didn't put it out. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's like, if you're going to this, like, oh, this is an MJ song, like, and then just to use, like, part of an unfinished song and put that on the chorus and likely throw some effects on it. It's like, why are you going to do that? Why are you going to do MJ like that? Don't do MJ like that. Let's see if there's any other thoughts that came to mind with that. Start In My Feelings. I guess that was a highlight. I don't even remember. That's How You Feel. I don't know why he bothered putting in those Nicki live vocals. Like, I don't know. They didn't really add much to the song. And I don't know. When you put in live vocals, it just seemed like, I'm going to put in some live vocals. That's going to be really cool. It didn't really seem to serve much of a purpose. But yeah, like I said, if you cut this album in half, like if you gave me Motionless, God's Plan, I'm Upset, 8 out of 10, Mob Ties, Sandra's Rose, maybe a couple others. I might be skipping over. Talk Up, Nice for What, Ratchet Happy Birthday, In My Feelings. Maybe there's a couple more. March 14th. I don't know where we're at numbers wise, but I feel like that would be a solid album. But once again, like I said, Drake, there was a tweet about Drake's put out the same album for years, and you're still eating it up. So, like, I mean, that's how I feel about Drake. I feel like there's no, after Views from the Six, More Life, and now this, it's like, I think Drake's shown us that, he's played all his cards. I feel like Take Care was peak Drake to me. And I've kind of accepted that once in a while he's going to drop a song that I mess with, but I don't think he's ever going to have that complete full album, complete project that is like, this is, I hate to say Take Care is peak, but to me that was like the last time Drake was really innovative to me. I feel like after Take Care, like I said, he let all the like voices get to his head, and he started doing things like acting tough and kind of emulating other people's sound, and instead of staying innovative, just kind of, like I said, even if you're reading this, it's too late. I never really liked that because it just felt like Drake doing someone else's style. And what made Drake great was Drake doing Drake, And I don't know. I feel like there was just like, since then, there's been a layer of authenticity that's just been missing from his music, I want Pussy Drake back. Bring back Pussy Drake. Bring back Sensitive Aubrey, I'd love some more Marvin's Rooms. Hit me with some more Marvin's Rooms. I feel like that's all I have to say on the subject. It's pretty damn hot in here. I'm pretty tired. And we did a solid 40 minutes, which is not bad for a first podcast, solo podcast. I feel like the solo podcasts are going to be probably shorter because I will have a lot less to say to myself. And like I said, hopefully when we start doing live podcasts, we'll be able to get listeners involved in the show and make it a great interactive experience. And I was also hoping I didn't have much of a background, much of a design. I have these shelves you can see all my laundry is in here. We'll see if this becomes a long-term studio. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be at this location. My hopes, I have 2 records, you can't even see them, Ugly Mane and Lil Wayne. But my hopes was to decorate with a bunch of records on the wall, but I also don't know how long I'm going to be, like I said, at this location. So I didn't want to just start putting up some heavy duty, what do you call it? I don't know, racks or, anything that would put holes in the walls or anything like that. Just because I don't know how long I'm going to be at this location. But at some point, the goal is to have a full-fledged studio where instead of, obviously for certain artists, I'll go out to them, but having them come in and, have a podcast set up as well as the ability to, kind of do a little bit of a, freestyle corner. I hope it's actually, I have a green screen. The goal, I think it'd be cool to have artists perform songs, kind of neat, but then have a green screen in the back. So you can add animations or things like that. Kind of make it unique and make it fresh. We actually got the 2 light boxes right here. Do I look bright? Do I look heavenly? Am I glowing? Hopefully I am. Alright, that's about wraps it up. At this point, I'm just talking to myself. Once again, if you enjoy the podcast, you can always check it out on YouTube and SoundCloud. Hip Hop Made Me Do It. As well as follow us on Instagram and Twitter for up-to-date updates on the show at Hip Hop Made Me Do _. You can even hit us on Facebook, even though I don't update that as much. Once again, that's Hip Hop Made Me Do It. DJ Toasty Z, forever and always. Peace.